Welcome back, Shalligators. Well, today, finally, I feel like you guys have been waiting for this video for a really long time of best and worst celebrities I've met. The nicest, the rudest. Oh, I got some tea for you because this came to my attention because of Gwen Stefani's exceedingly bizarre statement that she's Japanese. Oh, brother. So a few days ago, I actually filmed this video, but I filmed, part of it was talking about Remy Bader and her, is that how you say it? Bader? I don't care. And her Ozempic thing. And so I decided to kind of chop it up. And so we're talking about Gwen and some other celebrities later in this video, but I wanted to do like a fresh intro because I realized there were a bunch of celebrities I remembered after I finished filming that I wanted to tell you guys about. Okay, so before we get into it, I want to remind you guys to join the Shallon. It's our online community where you get tons of bonus videos, story times, deep dives into larger psychological issues and studies, life hacks, house tours. It's so much good bonus content. Plus, we have like, I don't know, 10 or 12 Telegram chats just for you guys to connect with each other and me. People are making friends. We're sharing advice and funny stories and sex tips. We have a Google Doc of dirty talk. It's honestly incredible. Tanvi, will you resend the link out in the group because it's so good. And some really exciting Shallentine's Day content is going to be available on there. So if you want some extra content from me and to connect with some Shalligators around the world, go ahead and click the link down below. So let's talk best and worst celebs. Like I said, later in this video, I'm going to be talking more about it, but I'm sorry this is such like a weird Frankenstein of a video. Like I'm in two different outfits. We're going back and forth in time. But one thing will be consistent is my hateful attitude towards hateful celebrities. I want to say up front, and because I mentioned this later in the video, but I want to make sure it's heard. Every single celebrity that I will mention in this video is someone I met in the context of work, okay? That is extremely important. I was a celebrity journalist for 12 years in New York City. I worked for FHM, Glamour, the New York Daily News, Star Magazine, a little for Us Weekly. I have been around celebrities a lot. I have interviewed everyone from Joe Biden to Oprah to Pauly D and everybody in between. And I say this because I think it's easy when people hear rude celebrity stories. It's like, maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they just didn't want to be bothered. They were at work. Never once in any of these scenarios, except for the Gwen Stefani one, because I was 13, was I approaching anyone as a fan. I was not approaching any of them in their normal life. I was never approaching them outside of their office, for lack of a better term. We were coworkers. I had a job. They also had a job. Okay? So for them to react in any sort of rude, dismissive, condescending way, imagine if the chick in HR treated you like that. Imagine if the dude two cubicles down acted that way. Would you have anything positive to say? No. Would you care how many Instagram followers he had? Would that make a difference in how he was allowed to treat you? No. The answer is no. Let me tell you, the answer is no. So I'm saying this because I don't want people to be like, well, you know, like they didn't want to be bothered. They're at work. You have to get bothered at work. That's how you get fucking paid. Okay? Let's get right into it. So I talk about a whole bunch of people later in the video, but these are some people I just happen to remember after the fact. And they're actually mostly amazing. I think these are all the really cool people. Not all of them. I'm sure I'll remember more, but these are some really cool people. First and foremost, I will start at the top. The coolest celebrity I ever interviewed was Guy Fieri. The coolest guy in the world, literally the coolest guy, Guy Fieri. He was so funny, so down to earth, very much in on the joke. Like in on like, yeah, look at me, my hair's neon. Like just a cool ass dude. He was so great. I made him my Christmas card. That was the year I got married. And did I make my wedding picture the Christmas card? No, I made a picture of me and my husband and Guy Fieri. So it was amazing. He was just so funny, so sweet. It was interesting though, the one thing he said that was like, not negative, but a problem for him is, do you know what a Fieri faker is? Okay, so there's this like weird cottage industry of men who dress up and impersonate Guy Fieri, which, okay, I feel like every girl on Instagram is impersonating Kim Kardashian or Kylie. Great. But here's the thing. They'll show up at Guy Fieri's events. Like we saw like 3 of them. I was interviewing him at a restaurant opening in the Poconos. And I was like, oh yeah, there's some Fieri fakers. He's like, yeah. He's like, you know what? It's so flattering. That's great. it gets to be a problem when they go to events and they legitimately pretend to be me. Like they will go to hospitals and do Make-A-Wish things and pretend to be him. Like that is fucked up. And he was like heartbroken about it. He's like, you know, they're fans and you don't want to like be mean, but like they're hurting people and they're hurting my brand. So just wanted to put that out there that he is a cool dude, rockin' dude, awesome guy. Also awesome, Pauly D from Jersey Shore. He's great. I've spent like, I don't know, a little bit of time with that cast. My TV show, Downtown Girls on MTV, which I swear to God happened, even though you cannot find it anywhere. We were on when Jersey Shore was in its height, like 2010. And so we would spend some time with them. The situation, complete cocksucker, like so rude, so incredibly rude. Like we have the same manager, dude. We have the same producers. Like we're in like the same family, you know, like we're cousins in the same family. He was so rude to us. I guess he was on a lot of drugs or whatever then, so maybe he's like a better guy now. But when I met him, and again, not meeting him as a fan, meeting him as a fellow celebrity, not even a journalist, a fellow celebrity, super rude. Pauly, however, was really cool back then. And then I got to interview him a few years ago he was doing a nightclub DJ set because he's a DJ. First of all, he's an awesome DJ. Like he is great. I would have him DJ the rest of my life forever. He's like, he plays exactly, he's mixing like Dolly Parton 9 to 5 with Fall Out Boy. Like he keeps everyone dancing. He's great. And I got to meet him before and he is just, first of all, he smells incredible. He smells incredible. He's again, very like in on the joke. You know, he's not taking himself too seriously. The situation really did. He was just really cool and really sweet. It was a real pleasure getting to talk to him and hang out with him. Foxy too, quite foxy. Short, but very foxy. And when you're very charming and magnetic, you can be as short as you want, honey. Also charming and magnetic and smelled amazing, LL Cool J. His hands are like a grizzly bear's hands. They were the size of my head, like meaty, sexy hands. He smells like vanilla and cocoa butter, and you just want to like curl up onto LL Cool J and be like, love me forever. He's so dreamy. T.I. is also really dreamy. He gave me a hug. He gave me a hug. That was amazing. Taylor Swift is also a big hugger. I got to hang out with her after Saturday Night Live one time. So sweet. Just a lovely, sweet. I mean, she was very young. I think she was 19 or 20. And so she was kind of still new to the industry. You know, I don't think she'd been like really battered and beaten up by this life. And she was just adorable and very lovely, very present. Let's see, who else? Oh, speaking of people I met at Saturday Night Live, Olivia Wilde, also very charming, lovely, polite, sophisticated, just great, you know? It's funny, I met all of Harry Styles' exes. He's very charming too. Wendy Williams, I know when she was going through a lot of her struggles, people were like, do a video on Wendy's breakdown. Listen, I will never say a bad word about Wendy. She's like a sister. I was on her show. I made a lot of appearances on her show, and she was just like, I was on her show on the worst day of my life, which is the morning I left my husband. It was the worst day of my life, by far. Well, I mean, there's been some bad shit, but you know what I'm saying. And she was just so warm and so sweet. And she probably doesn't even remember it, but that's how she is. Like, she's just a really warm, like a girl's girl. And so, you know, when she was going through her things, my heart just went out to her. And I feel like she's come through the other side, and I'm just so proud of her and so thrilled. And she really just deserves the world. And she carries a lot on her shoulders. She's done so much. She's come so far. Oh, she's a real bad bitch. Love her. Let's see, who else? Who did I wrote down? I interviewed Oprah. She was kind of boring, actually. Little bit boring. Didn't say anything interesting in the interview. Ryan Lochte, hot. The Sharpest? Let's see. Oh, the Real Housewives. Okay. So which franchise would you think, and we're talking original, like OG cast, right? Or like maybe 2 years in, right, to their franchises. Who would you think is like the coolest and the bitchiest? I guarantee you're right. If you guessed New York would be the worst, right you are. I was at gifting suites with them. I don't even know if they do gifting suites again, but before like award shows or whatever, they would rent out like a hotel, like a floor in a hotel, and all these companies would come and basically give gifts to all the celebrities coming through. Oh, here's like a purse for you, and here's some AirPods for you, and blah, 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 blah. And the celebrities are very gracious. They're like, oh, tell me about it. Okay, yeah, I'll post about it. It's just like an unspoken rule that like you just don't get greedy. You're not like, I want all of these. You know, I guess if you're Rihanna coming through or Blake Lively, you could, but those people are so rich they don't need to. You know what I mean? They don't really hit up the gifting suites. It's kind of like the D-list reality stars. Well, the New York cast, and this is like the OG cast, like Ramona and Countess Luann or whatever, I don't even know who these people are, would go and be like, I want all the sunglasses. And they're like, okay, well, we're gifting one. She's like, I said all of them. Okay. And so they were not very gracious. I've interviewed them at the time on the red carpet. Also bad attitude. By contrast, the Real Housewives of Orange County at that time, precious. My precious angels. They were so sweet to me. And I was like, I'm from Orange County. I'm from Irvine. They're like, oh, really? Like, and they were in New York and they're like, do you get homesick? Like they were interviewing me. They're like, do you get homesick? How is your mom dealing with you being out here? And Tamara gave me her number. She's like, if you get sad, if you get homesick, just call me. Like they were just so incredibly sweet. Same with the Housewives of Dallas. Stephanie and Brandy, adorable. Like just so cute and so sweet. And it's funny. It's like, all of these women in the Housewives franchise, ain't none of y'all celebrities, ain't none of y'all got some talent you're peddling. There's no need for this hierarchy and this bitchiness. Like, you can be nice. You should be nice because your popularity is predicated on people liking you. Okay? So keep that in mind. Politicians. Governor Cuomo. Very charming, shall we say. Bill Clinton. I got to go to a Clinton Foundation fundraiser quite a few years ago. That man is magnetic. He's not hot, but he is a weapon. Like he is so magnetic. Like he holds your gaze. I don't know. There's no other word, magnetic. He's just got charm and charisma up one side and down the other. And politics is an incredible place for him because he's super, super charming. On the other side of that spectrum, I actually don't know if I mentioned him in the later part of the video, but it bears repeating if I did. Trump. Awful. Awful. I interviewed him and Ivanka because it was for The Apprentice. Before he was a political buffoon, he was just a regular reality TV buffoon. And Ivanka was so cool, so cool, so cool. Like I remember exactly what I was wearing, this silver, like kind of flare dress, and it was from Forever 21. And I sat down and she was like, I love your dress. And before I could stop myself, talking to one of the richest women in America, I was like, it's Forever 21. Bleh. I just like blurbled it out. And she's like, I love Forever 21 because it's fine if you only wear it once. And she's like, if I get photographed in something, I don't really wear it again. And like, why would I buy something expensive? Love Forevs. And I was like, you're so pretty. And she is like a stunner. She's so pretty. Incredible boobs. Just beautiful. He, on the other hand, must have scanned me for fuckability, which I take umbrage with because I was like 24 and very fuckable. He scanned me and was like, and like, just, he would not make eye contact with me again. And I told this to someone, they're like, I bet he scanned you for not fuckability, but malleability. That you came across as just not someone he was going to manipulate. Joke was on him. I was very easily manipulated when I was 24. Constantly. And not by celebrities, by guys named Jeff. It's thriving. But that's a very kind, like, zhuzhing for my friends to give it. But he, you know how he's very orange? That's not like a tan. And I wouldn't honestly even say it's makeup. So I was in ROTC. I was in Army ROTC in college. And we would have to wear like the paint, like the camo paint to go slithering around the woods, blowing shit up. And it's like, that's what he was wearing, like grease paint camo, but in orange. And it looked like he like rage applied it, like just like an alligator applied it. It was just like like circles around his eyes. There was no sponging in the blended. No, it was so aggressive and so bizarre looking and aggressive and bizarre. Okay, I think that's all the celebs I remember. If I think more, maybe I'll do another video or do it as like a TikTok or something. But I hope that's been illuminating. You know, it just goes to show celebrities are people, and some people suck and some people are cool. And it's funny that the difference between suckiness and coolness isn't like, oh, your core personality. It's, are you capable of being polite when it is necessary? And it's almost always necessary. It's almost always necessary, but I think it's very interesting how people act if they feel like they can treat someone lower than them. If they're around, if they have a higher ground, how do they act? You know, who are they when they're the big dog in the yard? Are they still magnanimous and polite and conscientious and respectful? Or are they absolute twats? So, okay, keep listening. I'm going to talk about the Kardashians, what they're like in person, Gwen Stefani, the rudest celebrities I've ever met. Vendetta forever. Maybe a V for Vendetta forever. You got a clue now? Read on, Shalligators. I'll see y'all later. Welcome back, Shalligators. Today we are going to talk about a celeb I don't think we've ever covered here, Gwen Stefani. I don't like her. All right? Why? She crossed me when I was 13. My best friend and I, Diane, would go and we would see ska shows. Remember ska? At like the little local like theater, the Galaxy. And her dad would drive us in his minivan and he would like wait in the parking lot for us because, you know, he wasn't just going to drop us off. Or sometimes he'd like come and like lurk in the back. We'd like, Dad. It was like so fun. And my friend Diane, she still is just fearless. And I was just like I was a land octopus. I was just like, I don't belong here. I was terrified of everything and everyone. I wish you guys could have seen me then. You'd be like, that's the confidence chick? Okay. But we would see these like ska bands, like these little no-name things. And No Doubt was one of them. And they were like nobodies. Like nobody who was playing at these shows was anybody. They were like maybe kind of big on the ska scene. They were like big on the ska scene, but like you could never call them a celebrity. And like the bands would play and then they'd walk around. It was a super small venue. They'd walk around, get drinks, talk to the fans. It was very just like permeable. Like there was no like, they pay. And Gwen and No Doubt was there. And Diane said something like, oh my gosh, like great show tonight. You guys, that was, I think, the best show we've seen. And she was such a twat. Like she was so rude. So rude. And like we were children. Like you have to look a foot down at us. Like we were very clearly children. Just being like, that was so great. No one was asking for autographs or selfies or anything. Anything. It was just like, hey, great show, man. Ugh, like we were like something she had scraped off a shoe. It was, And you know, you hear about people who have like bad celebrity encounters and sometimes the celebrity's like, I don't even remember that. Like, I know that's the point, is that you don't remember when you're rude to people because it's not an outlier behavior. It's how you move through the world. And this is what's always struck me about celebrities. And this has become more pronounced for me. Like all my hatred for rude celebrities has become more intense and compounded since I have become a YouTuber and have a modicum of fame myself. I have people come up to me and, oh my gosh, are you Shallon? Blah, blah, blah. I meet you guys on trips. I talk to you guys over DMs and stuff. It would never cross my mind to speak like that to somebody who liked my work. I don't even know why I would do this job if that's how I was going to talk to people who like bought what I was selling or were consuming my content. Like I can't even imagine that. It's so incredibly bizarre to me. And yet that has been something I've encountered a lot. One of the other rudest celebrities I've encountered, if not the worst, Lily Allen. No, she's not the worst. They're all like top tier, sort of like Ivy League asshole level rudeness. Lily Allen, remember her? You know her? Exactly. I should say remember, because how's that career going? I interviewed her when I was an editor at FHM magazine, it's a men's magazine, and I had just come out of a really bad breakup, and I'd been listening to her album a lot, and I was like the only female that worked there, and they're like, oh, let's Shallon talk to her, because you know, it's like girls. And listen, I also want to say I am never starstruck. I was starstruck once in my life. It's when I met Gladys Knight at the US Open, and I was like, please, can I have a picture? Because I'm obsessed with her. She's just incredible. And she was so sweet. So I'm not like, oh my God, am I talking to a celebrity? Like, get fucked. But I was like, oh, Miss Allen. I called her Miss Allen. You know, I'm like, before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much for that album. I just went through a breakup. It helped so much. It was so well written. Just, that's what I would say. Thank you. Thank you for that work. I literally couldn't give a fuck if you liked it or not. Those are her words. I remember them. They are burned into my brain. I literally couldn't give a fuck if you liked it or not. Okay. It's going to be like that. Again, why are you making this? Why are you making this album, this movie, this song, any of these things if you don't care that people like them? And if you do care, why the fuck are you acting like this? Especially to a journalist. I'm not like bothering you at somebody's funeral or coming up to you when you eat. Like, you're here to talk to me. That's the whole deal, okay? And I hold a lot more power here than you do. And this has always blown my mind with celebrities. Like, are you not aware that like I can make or break your career to a degree? You can't make or break mine. No, there's 1,000 yous. There's not that many journalists who can like get you on the front page of something, like write a positive review, get you that lingerie spread you've been wanting. So maybe you should be a little bit more magnanimous and a little less twatty. So she was super twatty. Gabori Sidibe, am I saying it right? I hope I'm not. The chick from Precious, ugh. So when you do a red carpet, you know, like it's called a step and repeat. The celebrities, they walk down the carpet and there's where the photographers are taking the pictures. There's also journalists. There's like a bank of photographers and then there's all the journalists. And the journalists are there and we need to get a quote, an interview about the movie. This is not typically the place where journalists go for like the hard-hitting, like incendiary questions because they know the publicist of the celebrity is going to just usher them like, no, we're not talking about the sex tape. You talk about the most softball shit. Oh my gosh, who are you wearing tonight? So what inspired this character choice? How was it kissing so-and-so? That's like as feisty as it would get, right? But you as a journalist, I think I was like 23. I'd been working all day. And this is my after work. This is my free time that I have to spend at a movie premiere, which sounds glamorous. It's not. It's work. You have to wait there. The celebrities are late. The weather is bad. You're hoping they even stop to talk to you. A lot of times they don't. You wait for hours and like, oh, I'm sorry, she's not going to be able to. No, she can't do any interviews tonight. No. And you're like, oh my God. And you have to tell your boss that. And sometimes your boss believes you and sometimes they don't. They're like, well, People Magazine got a scoop. I'm like, well, People Magazine probably like promised them an exchange. Like there's all these back alley deals going on with other publications. Like, yeah, they talked to Vogue Magazine. They were going to talk to the New York Daily News. Like, okay. And sorry, I wasn't going to scream and humiliate myself. My point is, red carpets are hard. A celebrity with an ounce of professionalism understands that a journalist is there to do a job as they are to promote their movie. They also want to do right by the studio and be like, of course I'm going to talk about the movie. I need to talk about this project, my new clothing line, my blah, 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 blah. This is a press opportunity for them, you know? So it's smart. It's a symbiotic relationship. So this fucking person comes down the carpet and there's like a few of us girls huddled together, like People Magazine, Us Weekly, like whoever it is, like 4 kind of people. And she's like, first of all, she has this weird Valley Girl accent, like that seems super fake. Like, okay, I'll answer one question. And we're like, great, one from each of us. She's like, no, one. And I'll answer it from, no, not you. You. You are at work, bitch. You're at work. If you don't think that's an unreasonable thing for a celebrity to say, workshop that tomorrow at your own job. I will clean one fry machine. Not you. Try it. I dare you. Then you'll see that this is not appropriate. It was so demeaning. It was so insulting. It was such a fucking waste of my time. And I knew her publicist. I was like, really? This is your client? Really? Really? I was like, you better get her attitude in order. You better straighten her out like a piece of wire. Because I got news for you. She doesn't have a long time in this industry. With that attitude, come the fuck on. She's a flash in the pan. Again, there's 1,000 hers. There's like 10 magazines. Not even. So act like this. Go for it. Julianne Hough was another very rude celebrity. This is when Footloose was about to come out and she'd left like Dancing with the whatever the fuck she was on. So You Think You Can Dance with Stars and I don't care. And we were going to do this like shoot with her. It was for Star Magazine. It was like At Home with Julianne, like softball, like, where did you get these pillows? You know, nothing like, can we see your pap smear results? Very palatable. She pulls out at the last second, which fucks the whole production of the magazine up. Now you have 6 pages unaccounted for. You have people having to stay late to write stories and randomly fill it and get new photos. You don't do that. And she's like, Julianne, this is what her bitch ass publicist said. Julianne has decided she is now too big for a publication like Star Magazine and doesn't need the press. Where's your career, Julianne? What are you known for these days? You win a battle, I win wars. Kristen Chenoweth was this way. I have not met her personally, but based on her publicist, and listen, this could just be the publicist, but she uninvited me to a Christmas tree lighting in New York City that they begged me to come to. Please run a picture and star, please, please, please. I was like, sure. And for the caption, I'll ask her like, favorite Christmas tradition, like softball things. We had, for sure, people at Star who were like doing those hard-hitting, like door knock interviews that were intrusive. That was never me. I could never do that. I couldn't stand it. It was just not me. So I was like, fine. It was the holidays. I was exhausted. I didn't, it's like, I don't want to do these things. I just want to go home and eat my sad salad. Like, 10 minutes before I'm leaving for the event, Kristen has decided she doesn't want you or Star Magazine there. I said, you begged me to come to this. You begged me. And I have never, in my 12 years of journalism in New York City, been uninvited to anything. I've never been uninvited to something in my personal life. I've never been uninvited, period. Beyond rude. And again, who knows if that's coming from her, but I've had publicists, and if I knew that's how my publicist was speaking to journalists or to anybody, I would be like, you are so fucking fired. Like, the damage you are doing is unbelievable. The Kardashians. The Kardashians are great. The Jenners are not. That's the split. Kim, Kourtney, Khloe. Kim is an excellent interview. She is very present. You know how I said on the press line, you're all trying to get and like fight for a quote, blah, blah. She takes you aside individually. She listens. She's not on her phone. You can ask her whatever. She makes sure she's speaking clearly. You can get it into the microphone and the dictaphone. Same with Khloe. Kourtney is just sort of there. She was trying a little harder when she was younger. Now she doesn't care. The Jenners, not really worth an interview. They're not worth going to a party. They're going to give you something boring and bland because that's who they are as humans. They're nice. They're not rude, but it's like they're a fruitless, wasted interview. You're never going to get anything interesting out of these people. Who else? Brooke Shields, fantastic. Probably one of the coolest, sweetest people I've interviewed because she met me with respect. I was like, Miss Shields, what do you think about like her movie? And she's like, hold on. What's your name? I was like, oh, my name is Shallon. She's like, always tell people your name. Don't let them treat you like you don't have a name. I could cry just thinking about it. It was so sweet. At a time when I was like 23, 24, and that's exactly how people treated me. Like, Gabori Sadebe. Okay. And yet Brooke Shields has had what, like a 50-year career? And Precious, where are you, sweetie? Leandra Medine, the man repeller. It's not just men she repels. I've got news for you. Also incredibly rude in person. Incredibly rude. I was interviewing her for the New York Daily News at a fashion event. What the fuck you think I'm going to ask her about? Fashion? Correct. I said, if you could raid any celebrity's closet, who would it be? The look she gave me, it's like I said, what concentration camp would you choose to hang out? It's like I physically smelled. She's like, my own. Obviously. And looked at her publicist like, and she is not attractive in person. I don't know if you think like, oh, I bet she's got this cool. No, she doesn't. Nope. She's unattractive inside and out. So, okay. I'm going hard on these people because again, sweetheart, you're at work. You're at work. I'm at work. And if you come at me like a work conflict, I know exactly how to deal with that. I don't give a fuck how many followers you have, who your publicist is, what you think you can do. Do not be rude to people who are just trying to do their job. Because if you're rude to me, who is arguably a peer, I'm certainly like better educated. I mean, I think I'm not like some idiot off the street. How do you treat a janitor? How do you treat a waitress? How do you treat a nurse? People who aren't your peers and who are working for you maybe in some sense. How do you treat those people? That's why I push back with shit like this, because if this is how you treat me when you're supposed to be on your best behavior, what on earth do you do when nobody's looking? I'm looking, okay? And I'm gonna make sure everyone else is looking at you. Natalie Portman was by far, I say this about all of them, they're by far the rudest. Natalie Portman was really up there, really up there. She's extremely short, her head is enormous. And it'll always bother me when guys are like, oh, dream celebrity crush, Natalie Portman. I'm like, well, let me tell you this story. Again, I was showing up after work, tired, just wanted to get the quote and go home. I was interviewing her at, I think it was like maybe some political kind of event. And this is the thing, you also tell a publicist ahead of time what you're gonna interview them about. Just generally, it's, oh, we're gonna talk about the holidays and Valentine's Day or their wedding coming up, and this is a political thing. So I'm like, okay, like great, like tell me XYZ, why this cause interested you, whatever. I'm not a hard-hitting journalist. You know, I don't care. If somebody doesn't want to talk about something, I don't want to make them. That's so rude. I get there, she's wearing Birkenstocks. She has great skin, huge head. Yeah, Birkenstocks. And the publicist is like, oh, New York Daily News is here. Again, I don't even have a fucking name. New York Daily News is here. She turns around, looks at me, looks me up and down. It's like I was nothing. And I look cute. I was 24. I was cute. I was dressed cute. I wasn't wearing like a hefty bag with a rope for a belt. Even if I was doing my job. And she needed to do hers, you know? Let me see, who else? Oh, here's a story that made the papers. One of the very first people I ever interviewed when I worked at the New York Daily News was Puff Daddy, Diddy, whatever the fuck he wants to call himself. I've got a few names in mind. I had to go to a club to see him. That's always a nightmare. It's loud. No one can hear anybody. Are you gonna get in? You're getting drinks spilled. It's like, ugh. But I had to interview him about, again, one of his projects. This is the publicist reaches out to a publication, a newspaper, a magazine, whatever. Please, can you talk to my client about their new movie, their new clothing line, their new charity, whatever. And you're like, okay, you're gonna make this easy for me though. His people didn't. You're gonna have to come to this club. It was like all the way up in Harlem, which is very far. So it's at night, I'm taking the train, I'm by myself. Again, I get there, I finally get up to his table through the bodyguards, and I'm telling everybody who I am and showing the emails. He looks at me, sunglasses on, looks back at his bodyguard, just shakes his head like that. The bodyguard grabs me by the vagina and pushes me away. This is pre-Trump, pre-grab him by the pussy. Diddy, you're really on the forefront of that trend. Grab me by the vagina to push me away from the table. You know what these are? They're arms. You can grab someone by the arms. How about this though? How about this? What if you didn't grab anybody by anything? What if you didn't do that? What if you didn't manhandle a girl who's trying to do her job that you begged her to do so you could talk about whatever horseshit fragrance you've got coming out? What if you just did your job? Or if you're like, I'm so sorry, he's not feeling well, he can't do the interview. Has that ever crossed your mind? Or is it just straight vag grab? Just like straight for the clit, just up in the labia. So I'll think of more. But again, like these people, I know I go hard on this, and you know, in these videos, I would hate to have some of these phrases like excerpted and put in print because they're going to sound so over the top and so harsh. But again, like these people have everything. They're narcissists. And all we as journalists are asking a narcissist to do is talk about yourself. Talk about yourself. You don't want to talk about your new perfume? Great. What do you want to talk about? Sometime when I would have like a combative interviewer, I'd say that, or interviewee, what would you like to talk about? Anything you want. Your dog, the dream you had last night, celebrity crush, you name it. I will turn it into a quote that makes sense and is funny. Like I'll just change the tense and put it, I'll do all the hard work. You just got to give me something here. And when they can't or won't do that, first of all, if I was the studio, the record label, the clothing supplier, I'd be like, we're not doing business with you anymore. We're giving you money, we're giving you time, and you can't show up for a red carpet. That's why when like celebs, who was it, Florence Pugh, after she had some like spat with Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles, and who even knows what for Don't Worry Darling, and she like didn't do press interviews, I'd sue her ass for breach of contract, 100%. That's so inappropriate. Nobody cares if you're having a bad day. It doesn't matter. You need to be a professional. Whatever is going on in your life, grow up. There's worse things going on in other people's lives. They don't have millions in the bank. They're not a size 0. They don't have a hot dude waiting to pick them up in the Maserati after. Some people have real problems, and yet they don't have the luxury of popping off to people they work with. They get fired and then they'd be homeless. So I'm gonna hold these people like ultra accountable because I think it's so incredibly shitty. And the fact that people are like, oh, celeb, I'm just gonna stand the celebrity. They're garbage. So much time, they're just garbage people. Let me think of some people who aren't. Christian Bale was very weird, very weird. He smelled, he was like filthy dirty and smelled. And he was coming down a press line, I think it was for Batman, maybe, I don't remember. And he used a different accent for every journalist he talked to, like wildly different, like American, Southern, Cockney. And to this day, I don't know what his actual voice is. Is he British? Like I don't even know. I don't know. Blake Lively, so sweet, very present. Her publicist is a very unpleasant woman, very unpleasant. But Blake was great. The whole cast of Gossip Girl was great. Lily Reinhart, nightmare. My friend worked for Us Weekly and she tried to interview her on a red carpet. And again, about the show. And my friend who was the interviewer she's like the senior entertainment. Like no one is above her. So they sent the big guns out to interview this chick on a red carpet. Like she interviews like Tom Cruise, right? She was asking Lily things like about the show. Oh, your character. And for everything, Lily was like, I don't understand the question. I don't understand the question. Just twatty. Like, you're doing your job here. And if I was the publicist, if I was the studio, I'd be like, what is she saying? What is she saying? Because Us Weekly was like, well, we're not writing about the show. Sorry, like your people aren't giving me anything, so Riverdale can go fuck itself. Riverdale has fucked itself. I loved that show. And it's like, what? How are we supposed to assume that a mafia boss can't defeat a 15-year-old boy? A ginger 15-year-old boy? All right, it's fine. Sure, he's a criminal mastermind between AP Bio. Who else? Oh, duh, the best one of them all, who I became friends with, Stacey London from What Not to Wear. She's the best person. She is truly, I haven't talked to her in a minute, but she is just such an inspirational person. Such a really cool, amazing, inspirational person. Like, I just cannot say enough good things about her. But I interviewed her. We didn't interview each other. I interviewed her and she was like, does your necklace say revenge? I was like, yes. And she's like, we are going to be best friends. I'm like, thank you. You know, like, not thank you that you're going to be my friend, but like, thank you for just talking to me like another human being and not like I'm just this like servant class, like a raccoon just scuttling around. You feel so badly when people treat you that way. And you know, it was a good lesson. Like, you don't know where people end up. Half the people I named as my rudest celebs, where are they now? I am thriving, okay? I say, may the bridges I burn light the way. I'm very strategic about which ones I burn. By and large, I don't. Because you never know where someone's going to go. And you never know what kind of YouTube channel they're going to end up having. Do you, precious? Maybe remember that. You want to come on the show? That's fine. Yeah, you want to come on here? You want to explain yourself? You want to explain your badass attitude? Oh, I'll tell you somebody who was, I wouldn't say rude because you couldn't get close enough to her, but just incredibly bizarre, was Carrie Underwood. I was working, what was it? Was it Allure? No, it was Self. I was an intern at Self, and she had just like won American Idol or something. My point is, she was like barely famous, like barely. And Christina Applegate was supposed to be on the cover, but they pulled it at the last minute because the show she was promoting got canceled. I'm like, oh, that just sucks. Like, your show gets canceled and like Hollywood just completely abandons you. I think it was like Emily's Reasons Why Not. No, that was a show. It was, I forget what the show was, but everyone did. And so they slotted in Carrie Underwood at the last minute to be the cover person. And then at the wrap of every issue, it's a monthly magazine, they would throw a big party and invite the cover star. And this is very typical of all magazines. You know, you have a big end of issue close party, you invite the cover star, you like rent out part of a restaurant. It's like a whole thing. And everyone mingles because so many people from that magazine have worked with the celebrity all week or half the month or whatever it is, pulling the clothes, fitting, doing fittings, retouching. You know, they've gotten to know the staff to a degree. We're not all like weird random strangers, and we're certainly not weird random fans. We are peers. And Carrie, unlike the cover stars who, like Jennifer Lopez was a cover star, Jennifer Aniston, she comes with, I think, 2 bodyguards to a party that had maybe 30 people. Again, like people she had been liaising with, sits in the back corner and has the guards like this, like just blocking her off. We're like, never seen somebody do that. Never seen someone do that. She doesn't seem like she's adjusted to fame super well. I've heard stories about her that would curl your hair, especially if you know how to curl your hair with alcohol. Okay. So, sorry this is the longest video ever. I just wanted to get these celebrity things out, and I should do more. I should think about it. I should just like pick up a magazine and be like, oh, I remember. And I know you're probably thinking, well, what about some of the guys? Denzel Washington, nightmare. So rude, so haughty, so condescending. Never again. Not like anyone's going to ask me to interview Denzel Washington living in Bozeman, Montana, but just putting it out there. No, thank you. Gwen Stefani. Bless her heart. So she told Allure magazine, who seemed to have very weird motives for interviewing her. It seems like this was gotcha journalism. It seems like they set her up to bring her in to like cancel her in real time for her Harajuku lovers phase back in like 2004 or something. Because the entirety of this article, and again, maybe not, maybe they just realized they're like, what the fuck is she saying? And they made the cancellation like a retroactive theme and like kind of grandfathered her into that theme. But the interviewer, the journalist, Jessa Marie Callauer, I don't care. She did something I hate when journalists do, is that they make it all about themselves. They insert themselves way too much into the story. Bitch, I don't know you. I don't care. I don't care what perfume you wanted. I don't care how it made you feel when there was a Harajuku lovers line. I don't care. And this chick, I guess, is Asian. Let's see. Yeah, she's Asian. Okay. So she's like, it just, you know, I investigated how I felt about this later in life. Go to the gym, man. Like, get a hobby, get your pilot's license. I don't know, dude. This is what you sit around thinking about? I don't, and I don't like her. I have what could be described as a vendetta, a teenage vendetta against Gwen Stefani. I don't think this is the most amount of time I've spent thinking about her since I was 13. Okay? And so Gwen decided to put her foot in her mouth and talk about how she feels Japanesey. So apparently Gwen brings up some stories she's trotted out before, like her dad had a job at Yamaha and he went back and forth from California, because she's from where I'm from, she's from Southern California, for 18 years. That was my Japanese influence. And that was a culture that was so rich with tradition, yet so futuristic, with so much attention to art and detail and discipline. And it was fascinating to me. Then as an adult, she was able to travel to Harajuku to see all of these things for herself. I said, my God, I'm Japanese and I didn't know it. As those words seemed to hang in the air between us, she continued, I am, you know. Then she explained that there was an innocence to her relationship with Japanese culture, referring to herself as a superfan. If people are going to criticize me for being a fan of something beautiful and sharing that, then I just think that doesn't feel right. I think it was a beautiful time of creativity, a time of the ping pong match between Harajuku culture and American culture. It should be okay to be inspired by other cultures, because if we're not allowed, then that's dividing people, right? Vendetta against her. But she's right. She's right. She's right. She is not right that she's Japanese. It's kind of a thing that you are or you aren't. And then, like, she doesn't seem to know what she is. IG famous by Dana. Hi, girl. She pointed this out. We were DMing. She's like, I stand behind Gwen. Like, we were talking about this. IG famous by Dana pointed this out to me. We were DMing, and she's like, she doesn't even seem to know what she is. Like, is she Irish and Italian? Is she French? Like, before you say you're identified as something else, maybe figure out what you are. Like, maybe before you get out of one lane, figure out what lane you're coming from. And she just cracked me up. It's so true. The whole I identify as, you know where I stand. I mean, tell me you're mentally ill without telling me you're mentally ill. Okay? Can you do that? I think that's a dumb thing. That's a dumb foot and mouth thing for Gwen to say. Like, I'm Japanese. I think so many of us travel and we see a certain culture for the first time and we're like, oh, this is my heart cast out onto these ruins, onto these street performers, onto this taco truck. Like, we all have some culture that just gets its hooks into us, right? For me, you guys know it's Roman culture. It's ancient Roman culture. Now, I am Italian, though. I'm half Italian. I mean, I'm half French, half Italian. Who cares? But it's not like a heavy lift for me to be like, I clearly identify with this culture. But I think the reason I do is because that's what I am. Like, I feel very connected to my heritage when I'm in Italy, and I know more about ancient Rome than I know about anything else. It's honestly quite bizarre and not that sexy. Very useful day to day in Montana, though. And I think Gwen could have just said that. Be like, that was the first time when I got to go to Japan that I felt like all my weird creative energy like might have a place. That I felt like, oh, these people are doing something that is kind of my mindset and I didn't even know they existed. And this is so cool. Like, I really want to dive into this. I don't feel like she had to go so hard like, I am Japanese, because I don't know how you can construe that in a way that isn't absolutely insane, right? Like, what did she think was going to happen? Like, Gwen. And here's what I find a very interesting follow-up. First of all, she said this to an Asian person. Okay. And that her publicist, after this story came out, like, had an absolute cow about it. Can we bring back that phrase? She had a cow. Because it's just, especially in Montana, I feel like we could give this, like, she just laid an egg. She laid a real egg about this. I want to bring back some more wholesome insults after I've called half these celebrities twats. Sorry. Her publicist had a cow and was like, this was misinterpreted. And the writer was like, okay, does she want to go on the record and reinterpret it? Like, does she want to clarify? And they're like, no. That's sus. Like, why on earth would you make a stink if you have nothing better to say? If anything, stand by it. I mean, maybe be like, oh, I'm sorry. You can claim you're a woman and compete in women's college sports. That's okay. But if I'm transcultural, which is, I'm sorry, not any less fucking bizarre, I'm canceled? Okay. She could have come up with a million examples of like people who are culturally appropriating white culture, because there are a million examples. Don't believe me? Walk outside. Wait, Shallon, why? What are you walking on right now? Is it a sidewalk? You know what that's made out of? Concrete. You know who invented concrete? The Romans. We invented it. So you could say, well, that's an invention. It belongs to the world. Okay, well, I mean, isn't culture an element of invention? Isn't music an invention? Isn't a hairstyle an invention? Everything is an invention. Everything is a thing that didn't exist and now it does. It was created by someone and put into the world. So where are we drawing these lines? Well, it seems like we're drawing the lines at white people. And that anything white people do is automatically up for public consumption, like no cultural trademarks, do whatever. But anything any other culture wants to do, oh, no. Okay. I think this is exactly what Gwen said. So divisive, illogical, hypocritical, And you know what? When people show their ass as a hypocrite, I automatically stop listening. I automatically don't respect them. You know, which is why I say, like, no, I don't respect your fucking pronouns. I don't respect you at all because you're a hypocrite. Because you think you can identify as a unicorn or a ghost self or whatever, but I can't identify as 23. You're a hypocrite. So now we're not in the same realm. So if you want to die mad about it, you can die as a unicorn, as a ghost self, whatever. Just, I really don't care. I'm not going to go to your ghost self funeral. Okay? Just keep that in mind. So Gwen, and people are stepping up to, you know, defend her and everything. Personally, and like I said, I hate her. But when I was living through that Harajuku age, I had never heard of anything Harajuku. Truly, the things I know about Japan are from Gwen. I mean, not everything. I mean, but like she was the first one to tell me that this was like an aspect of Japanese culture. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. I knew a lot about Chinese culture, Korean culture, because that's where I grew up. We had Chinese people and Taiwanese and Korean. We just didn't have a lot of Japanese people. And it was just not really, like I knew about sushi. I had no idea there was like Harajuku things. And since then I've been like, oh, I would love to go to Tokyo and see this. This is like wild that people dress like this and they get all dressed up and it's a whole thing. And that's what cultural appropriation very often does. It is sharing. It is sharing. Now look, Gwen takes it to extremes. Remember she was wearing the bindi because she was dating her Indian bandmate? Cringe. Or she was wearing dreadlocks and a Jamaican flag dress? Who fucking cares, dude? If black girls can wear extensions that are stick straight and blonde, let a white chick wear dreadlocks. It's her funeral because they look stupid. They look stupid. So let her just wear them, man. This looks stupid. Bindis look remarkably uncomfortable. I would constantly be itching. I would be itching. I think as long as you're not using someone's culture and like making fun of it or making it like a prop, which arguably Gwen was. I mean, I'm not saying she wasn't. But, you know, I was wearing a shirt the other day that had like a Navajo print and I wasn't like, oh! I was like, I liked the print and I bought it from a Native woman. I mean, I don't know how much more supportive I can be. I'm not appropriating. I'm wearing something that she's putting out in the world to be consumed. Okay, is that bad? Well, tough shit if it is. So, was Gwen a little cringe by 2023 standards? Weren't you? Weren't we all a little? Who among us has never done anything that could get you canceled? I mean, you know where I stand on that. And I love how Lizzo is like, cancel culture is appropriation. What the fuck are you even talking about? What are you talking about? And she's like, it's trendy and overused. Interesting that you feel that way after you finally got canceled for using the word spaz in a song. Yeah? Queen of heart disease? Okay. Funny that it was all fun and games until your own weapons are used against you. Welcome to being a liberal. So it's great over there, isn't it? Can't imagine why I left. So at minute 51 or something of this video, sorry this is so long, what do you do if you have a foot in mouth moment like Gwen does? Now, hopefully, I'm not going to talk about what to do if you get canceled. I do have that video, actually. It's under Evil Week because you know how hard I go and you know my motto. Never apologize. Why would I apologize if I'm not sorry? So get bent. Have a cow, why don't you? What do you do if you just plain, maybe you say something that hurts someone's feelings. Maybe you just went through a cringe phase. Let's talk about a cringe phase. First of all, here's another rude celebrity. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about this person. And I say person because Ellen Page. And someone's gonna be like, you're not respecting her pronouns. Correct. Again, I don't respect her at all. Him, tomato, tomato, I don't care. I don't respect this person at all because of how unbelievably rude they were on a red carpet. It was the Natalie Portman thing. It was the Gabori Sidibe thing. I was there to interview them about whatever movie they were doing. And she was a she then, was so rude, like panicky. And I was literally asking about the film. Like, oh, was it fun filming on this island or Seattle? Whatever it was. Like, I have never asked hard-hitting questions. It makes me too uncomfortable. I just never have done it. And she was just so rude and looked at me and treated me like I was a rat, like a vermin. And people can say like, well, she was struggling with her identity. I was 24. I was struggling with my identity too. Welcome to the human condition. Welcome to being alive. Welcome. Life isn't always fun. Sometimes you're struggling with shit. And you know what you still have to do? You know what every other person on this earth still has to do? Go to work. They still have to go to work. They don't have the luxury of being a complete self-indulgent asshole and still getting paid. Not just paid, rich. 50 Cent said this recently. He's like, depression is a luxury. Where I come from, you don't have the luxury of being depressed. That is a rich people thing, right? Not that it doesn't happen to poor people, but nobody cares about them. And nobody reaches to help them. And no one gives them a pass for things because of their battle with OCD. That's why they shot up a Rite Aid. You don't hear that. You don't hear that. So forgive me, I'm not also going to give that concession to Ellen Page because she couldn't decide if she was a boy or a girl because she didn't like adolescence. No one likes adolescence. Nobody likes adolescence. Like, whatever, chop your boobs off, be a boy. I don't care. Do whatever makes you happy. But like, you don't get to spray your venom and your weird feelings about yourself out at everyone else and never have to hear about it. You can act like that, but people like me are going to hold you accountable. Because you don't get a free pass to hurt other people. Like, I went home and I cried after that. I was so upset because she treated me so badly for no reason. I didn't do anything to her. Like, I was just trying to do my job and I got in trouble because I didn't come back with a quote or an interview. I was in deep shit and it wasn't my fault. So I don't really care what people are going through when they make their problems my problems. I don't think so. And that's the attitude we should all have. I don't care who you are, a celebrity, a parent, a boyfriend, a best friend. You don't get to turn your venom into my problem, right? There's a phrase you guys might have heard me say here, and it is a metaphor. And please pause this video right now if you don't know what a metaphor is. I'm not being sarcastic, a little bit. Because if you're taking this literally, life just must be very difficult for you in general. It's a phrase I heard on a Dateline, actually. I heard a detective say it. And it just struck me as an interesting metaphor. He was talking about, perps. And he's like, if you're suicidal, you're homicidal. Like, if you're willing to kill yourself, you're 100% willing to kill other people. He was talking about it in context of this murder. But I thought that's a really interesting emotional metaphor. Like, when I've been emotional, not actually suicidal, but when I'm in pain, I'm a monster. Only my needs matter. Only my suffering matters. Like, think about when you have the flu. It's like, think about when a boy has the flu. I know, just so much complaining, right? When you're brokenhearted, you don't want to hear about your friend's good date. To me, that's the suicidal, homicidal construct, And so these celebrities, like, well, they were going through something. We're all going through something. We are all going through something. We could come together as human beings and collaborate and help each other. But no. You don't want to play it like that. You want to be an adversary? Let's go. Because like I said, you never know who's going to end up with the YouTube channel. Okay, moving on. Here's what some of you guys said about Gwen Stefani. Is she delusional or lying to stay relevant? Somebody else said she got away with this whole Japanese thing. Why is she bringing it up now? Does she have a cancellation wish? Oh, brother. Someone said culture appropriation, like the Kardashians do it all the time, like the kimono thing. Like, yeah. How to like something without making it a personality trait. Ooh, I really like that. How to like something without making it a personality trait. I think the way you do that is you have many other things. Like, we all know or have seen people. The first example that pops in my mind is moms. And of course, not all moms are like this, but we all know people who you ask them, it's like, well, I'm a mom. And first and foremost, I am a mom, soccer mom. You're like, okay. Like, you are no longer Jen. You are a mom. You know, like their thing that they have, kids, a dog, a Pilates studio, they're vegan, they do CrossFit, whatever, becomes, their central identity. Going back to like what we were saying about some celebs, it's like their pain becomes their identity. Their trauma becomes their identity. I would obviously rather have someone swing to the side of Gwen Stefani. It's like my weird obsession with like Harajuku is my identity. Like that's at least more positive to me and interesting and funny and fun and lighthearted than like my eating disorder is my entire personality. Like, okay, it kind of seems like you're selling yourself short. I feel like there's a lot more to you than that. But when we can keep our lives very full, we don't just play one sport. We also watch another one. We have creative hobbies. We have intellectual hobbies. We have logistical hobbies like scheduling and journaling and whatever. We don't focus too much on one category. It's like dating. You can't play hard to get. You have to be hard to get. If I'm only dating one guy, boy, oh boy, it's going to show. He's going to know it. I'm going to be inordinately into him. I have to have a gaggle, a lot of lines in the water at the same time so that I can not just act like, oh, I'm not overly into this. I'm living it. It comes through naturally. And you can be passionate about all these things in your life, but it is important to have that division and the diffuse sort of well-rounded lifestyle, I think. Oh, I remember your story when Seth Meyers was a dick. He absolutely was. I was at a Saturday Night Live after party and he spilled red wine on me. And again, these are like, it's like the Carrie Underwood party. They're very small. You know, everyone kind of knows each other. If you don't know who I am, you would assume I know somebody there. You know, like we're connected by 1 degree. Spilled red wine on me. And I was like, and I was wearing white. And he's like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Didn't get like a towel, didn't offer to buy me another drink. Like, okay. Ooh, Heather, I love you. How it's my truth has become a get out of asshole free card in Hollywood. This is so true. Like, this is my truth. That's what I was saying. It's like, whatever you choose to identify with, great. But if you're expecting other people to go along with that, cold-blooded. And I think people come up with these identification categories, which are increasingly weird, which to me proves that they're not actually based in authenticity. They're based in, I need to be special. A phrase I saw the other day, I think it was in relation to Stoic philosophy. You are unique, you are not special. Unique is a cool, inclusive thing. Like, you are many different layers. There are things about you that are just really cool and nifty. Special is a word of exemption. You are special, so you do not, rules in XYZ don't apply to you. You're special. I mean, the word implies entitlement, if nothing else. She's special, she can cut the line. She's special, she doesn't have to pay. She's special, she's VIP. The downside of that is she's special because she's identifies as a ghost self. You know, she's special because she's Elliot/Ellen Page. No, thank you. And people think that this is a sign of strength. Like, I'm living my truth. You are playing a card. And people like me, like us here, we can see through it. And it's like super cringy. It's super weird and super cringy. So one thing that kept coming up in terms of your suggestions, what do you do when you put your foot in your mouth? Like, how do you kind of back that off? Well, listen, you can apologize. I think it's worth apologizing if you've hurt someone's feelings that you care about. That's the important aspect of that sentence. Hurt someone's feelings that you care about, that you know, that you care about, that has some sort of power over you. Like, if you piss your boss off, it's wise to apologize, even if you don't feel it. That's at least strategic. Should you apologize to the public at large? No, because they shouldn't. Their feelings shouldn't live and die by what a stranger on the internet, in a movie, in a song, in a whatever, has to say. That's weird and that's cold-blooded. And I do not indulge that kind of behavior. It is so toxic. It is literally ruining America and the world. This endless entitlement, this victim entitlement is ruining our country. And the buck stops with me. I'm not doing it. But let's say this isn't people at large. Let's say it's somebody in your life. If you did something cringe, first of all, and it didn't hurt anyone else's feelings, just let it ride. look around. Everyone does cringy things. Everyone has a very, oh God, I'm getting like full body douche chills just thinking about my own cringe. Oh God, I don't even want to talk about it. We've all done cringe things, even the coolest people among us. So chalk it up to learning, you know? Nothing requires an apology. And I think even on the micro, when we're talking like to our friends and we hurt someone's feelings or we're in a fight with our boyfriend, nobody just wants to hear, well, sorry, okay? People don't even want to hear I'm sorry. They want to hear, I understand why this has hurt you. I take responsibility for being the force behind that. And most importantly, here's why this is going to happen again. This is not happening again. I have learned from this. I was in a different place. That was a different season of my life. I am no longer there for XYZ. Therefore, you can move forward safe in the belief that this isn't going to be a factor anymore, right? But again, you don't need to make that apology. Just move forward and be different. If you were a party girl, because this is what I get a lot, it's like I was not in a good place. I was maybe that suicidal, homicidal, emotional place, right? I was depressed. I was anxious. I was homesick. I'd broken up with someone. And I was a piece of shit friend. I was a bad sister. I was a monstrous cousin. And people don't really want to forgive me. Like I'm different, but I don't feel like people have moved on. You know what? That is their right. Once bitten, twice shy. There's people who I've cut out of my life who are in a different season, and I don't have any ill will towards them, but I no longer want them in my life because maybe I don't trust that things are going to be different. However, none of these people have come to me and said, I acknowledge how my behavior hurt you. I acknowledge how you were trying to help me. I acknowledge that I wasn't there for you, blah, blah, blah. And mostly, I acknowledge that I am different now and these scenarios will not be repeating they won't be repeating themselves. Had any of those people said that to me, they might still be in my life. And I'm talking about like friends, not dudes. I'm talking about friends. So if you want to move forward from cringy, bad, embarrassing seasons, toxic, whatever, acknowledge, validate their feelings, give examples of how you are different. It's like, yeah, remember last summer I was drinking so much. I don't drink at all now. Or I went out the other night, I had 1 glass of wine. It's no big deal. You know, like, yeah, back then, like I was so anxious and I couldn't be out anywhere. I'm on Wellbutrin right now and I feel so much better and I'm in therapy. I'm not perfect, but I'm on the path that is always trending in the right direction now. So I don't want you to feel like those scenarios are going to repeat themselves. And I'm going to go out of my way to show you I'm a supportive friend. You know, I'm going to be there for you if you have a bad day, if you need to talk to somebody. And then you kind of just got to let the chips fall where they may. Some people accept that, some people don't. I heard once that apologies are like gifts. People can accept them or reject them, you know? And it's really true. Like all we can do is apologize in the right way and focus on the future. And here's how I am already different. And therefore that's how these differences are going to lead to a better future, right? The difference is just going to keep on going, just keep on difference in it. So we're trending in the right direction. But you know what? If people are really hurt, they're allowed to feel like that. You know, people don't owe us second chances. And it's a hard truth. People are avoidant communicators. They have things in their history that burned them. They see the pattern here. They're like, I am not going near this. I know where this is going to go because that's where it went with my mom. That's where it went with my toxic ex. You know, everyone really is trying to do the best they can. So as you give yourself grace for moving out of those toxic seasons, give them grace too. They might be in a toxic season now. They might not be in a good place where opening up to someone who's hurt them feels okay. But life is long. People change, minds change, the dust settles, water goes under the bridge. And if paths cross again, that's great. Just give people a little bit of space and not a lot of judgment. And that includes yourself too. Because we all have a cringy face. Maybe even one where we said we were Japanese. I think for this April Fool's Day, I'm going to decide that I've identified as something else. What should it be? What should it be? I'm thinking a Hobby Lobby employee. No, the Hobby Lobby CEO. I have identified as a Hobby Lobby CEO. I have identified as a Russian fighter pilot. I'm going to keep workshopping this. I'm excited. Koala? I don't know. Leave me your suggestions. I'll see you later, Shalligators.